Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this.
Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
Google has found a new way to piss me off.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Behind-the-scenes camera crap.
May I present to you the cat?
I am the dog. I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing.
Welcome, everybody, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I'm your host tonight, Ben Love. I'm here with Landon.
Hello.
And once again, no Wes. Apparently, the every other weekend thing just wasn't working out, so we're doing 2 weekends in a row with Landon or something. I don't
something like that.
Don't know how this custody agreement is supposed to work. Anyways.
I don't think Wes knows how it's supposed to work. I think that's the problem.
That's probably true, yes. So, it's us. We're here. We're not going to talk about Microsoft. Oh, no. But we are going to talk about the stuff that's happened in tech over the past week. And we're going to start off with Landon, who actually has some hardware to talk about.
Yeah, so I wanted to start off with just the fact that what is going on with the world right now? Because January is supposed to be relatively calm. January and February, there's not supposed to be a lot going on. But besides CES and usually Samsung. But no, everything is happening right now.
It's very
we
true.
We just got to just keep, I don't know, it's annoying. I mean, it's good, but it's annoying.
It's a shocking amount of things happening right now.
Yeah. Speaking of, OnePlus decided to announce a new phone. It's the OnePlus 12, and in normal OnePlus fashion, they did this over like a 2-week period of time because they can't just have an event and call it good. They got to give it to reviewers, let them talk about the hardware, but not the software, and then let them talk about something else a week later, and then finally put their full review out. It's so stupid. OnePlus, you got to get your crap together, man. It's just ridiculous. Anyways, they announced 2 phones, the OnePlus 12 and the OnePlus 12R. But let's talk about the OnePlus 12 first. This is the main flagship phone from OnePlus. It definitely looks like a OnePlus phone. It's got that weird square circle camera bump thing on the back.
Yeah.
And that they've had for a few years now, which, I mean, I like when companies stick with a design kind of like that. Like Samsung has had their vertical cameras for a while. Apple's had their square oven thing on the back for a little while.
Yeah.
Google's had their bar. It's nice when you can distinguish phones by a design language for a significant amount of time. And OnePlus has done that with this little, like I said, like half square, half circle type thing going on the back. It's interesting, but it's a design choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the specs here. So it has the new Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip in it. Although, interestingly enough, they are not taking advantage of the AI capabilities of this phone or this chip. Definitely not nearly as much as Samsung. Which, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if you're going to use this chip, I think you should try to do something, which they're not, strangely enough. You can get it with either 12 or 16 gigs of RAM, 256 or 512 gigs of storage. It has a 5,400 milliamp hour battery, which is decently sized.
No, that's decent.
Yeah. The front camera is a 32 megapixel sensor. On the back, it's got a 50 megapixel main sensor, a 48 megapixel ultra wide, and a 64 megapixel 3x telephoto lens. So, decent cameras.
Okay.
It's got a 120 hertz LTPO display, which is also nice. Charging wise, this is where OnePlus always smokes everyone else, and hopefully not literal.
Oh yeah,
because that would be
always
bad.
The hope.
But they have 80-watt wired charging, unless you are outside of the U.S. Then it's 100-watt wired charging.
What?
which is absurd. That's fast. I mean, the 80 watts is already faster than most laptop chargers, but 100 watts is like desktop level power supply. It's ridiculous.
That's freaking over a USB cable.
Yeah.
Like,
now,
hot dang.
They also have 50 watt wireless charging. But again, but as I was going to say, these only happen if you get their cables and their wireless charger to charge their devices. So if you want that, you want to make sure that you buy their, and I would also recommend doing that because that's the only way it's going to be on the safer side is if you're buying their cables.
And that's the thing is that, like, if you buy their wireless charger, it has a fan in it.
Yes.
And that's why they feel comfortable, like, enabling this ability. I'm sure you can find wireless chargers out there that are knockoffs that have, like, some NFC chip in them or something to spoof the phone into thinking that it's sitting on OnePlus's charger and don't have a fan. And that might blow up your phone. Who knows? Could be the hottest new thing. Wow. But, okay, 100 watt. I'm still kind of blown away by the fact that, like, yeah, it's okay. In the US, it's 80 watts. Outside the US, it's 100 watts. And it's, you might be tempted to be like, oh yeah, but that's because the US's power grid sucks or something like that. But that has nothing to do with it. Like, in the US, if you have a gaming laptop, they come with a barrel plug adapter and like a 200 watt power brick. They charge at that speed, right? Like, that's how much power can be delivered to the laptop over that cable. That's not surprising because barrel plug connectors are designed for that. USB ports aren't. Like, I mean, yes, technically the USB standard has acknowledged that that is allowed sort of thing, but 100 watts of power delivery over a USB-C port, just, those pins are so small. I don't know, man. It feels like it can't be safe, but
it's crazy.
Smarter people than me designed that specification, so I'm not going to argue with it, but holy crap.
Yeah.
It's wild. That is wild.
Yeah. All right. Going on with some of these specs, it is IP65 water and dust resistant, so not quite up to the level of other flagship phones, which is interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
It's got a 6.82-inch display. And the best part about this display, and this is another one of those absurd specs, but its peak brightness is 4,500 nits.
What? Whoa.
Now, whether you ever hit that or not, you're probably never going to. And that's obviously a single pixel at its highest possible level. Again, probably never going to hit it. But I did see something about, like, the maximum brightness is at 1,600 nits. Like, that's full display, max brightness, which is also pretty dang high. That's really bright.
Oh my gosh.
Seeing this display just outside in the bright sun, you're not going to have any issues with this phone.
You remember last year when we were just so excited about the fact that the iPhone could do 3,000?
Yeah.
Like, that seemed really high. It was like, wow, that's like eye-searingly bright. No, never mind. Redefine that bar.
This is blinding.
That goalpost is now 4,500 apparently. That's what really bright is now. That's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, and here's the thing about OLED displays. Blacks are actually black. The pixels turn all the way off when they're supposed to be black. So if you have single point light that can get up to 4,500 nits versus 0 as the actual dimmest light value you can possibly get on that screen, HDR content is gonna pop on this display.
Absolutely.
Which is hilarious because should you be watching HDR enabled content on your phone? Probably not. It's kind of a waste. But like, this just is going to reinforce once again, for 99% of the population, the nicest screen in your house is the one in your pocket. Has been for years, but it just keeps getting better.
It's so strange how that has been the case forever.
Yeah. Like, to be clear, I don't think you can buy OLED TVs that have even close to this brightness. Most OLED TVs, I think, max out at maybe 1,000 nits as their peak brightness for single points, not even like full display. Single point brightness is 1,000 nits. And I mean, in a dark room, that's a pretty great HDR experience. But if there's any kind of brightness or anything like that, like if you want anything even close to that, to this, you have to have a local dimming zone enabled full array backlit panel, like LCD panel, that has literally thousands of zones so that you can get really tiny point lights. And even then, I'm not aware of any TVs that will do 4,500 nits. That's insane.
No, if you want that, you need to buy a display that you'd see at a stadium of some sort.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or like those,
wow.
video billboards or something like that.
Yeah. Like, I don't even think reference monitors get up to 4,500 nits of peak brightness. Like, most flashlights don't do that. Like, I don't know, man. This is insane. OnePlus, what are you doing? Is this thing brighter than the flash on the back of the phone? Because it might be, I feel like.
It's very possible. Like if you could make it so you could turn on one pixel at, 4,500 nits and that's your flashlight. that would be fantastic.
That would be so hilarious. Oh man. You'd actually probably have to have it be like a DVD screensaver type thing where the bright point like bounces around the screen so that you're not overheating and killing any of the individual pixels and stuff. But if they're all capable of doing that brightness, you could totally do that. Just be a slightly moving flashlight.
I mean, that would be fantastic. Just the entertainment value on that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be great.
So all those specs slapped together in this device come to a grand total price of only $800.
Oh, okay.
So OnePlus is back to its flagship killer status, I think, because the last few years have been okay, but I wouldn't have called them
flagships.
Yeah, they were flagships, but they weren't even like high-end flagships back then. Like they still had this similar price point, but they weren't competing with the $1,000, $1,200 phones like this one is. This one is easily competing with those by these specs.
No, that's fair.
And reviews on it are pretty good. Like people are saying the battery life is really good. The cameras are decent. They're not. That's kind of where where OnePlus has kind of struggled is the camera department. Not saying that they're bad by any means. They are still really good. But they still don't quite match up to it to where like your Pixel, Samsung, or iPhone are going to be, at least on the flagship side of things. So that's the downside. But even then, they're perfectly fine cameras by any sense of the word. Although my favorite thing about these phones is the color on one of them specifically. There's two colors. You can get it in silky black or flowy emerald, and that one is really, really good looking. It's like a greenish color, but it has like a marble effect to it, and it looks really good. Like normally I'm not huge onto the green side of things when it comes to phones, but this one looks really good. Ooh. So if you haven't seen a picture of it, listener, you need to look it up because it's pretty. It's pretty.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm looking at it right now. That is nice. I do like that. And there's like a little bit of texture to it as well.
Yeah.
Like, that is unique. I kind of like that.
I like it. All right. That is the OnePlus 12. That's their main flagship phone. Now on to the 12R. This is their lower end phone. Well, lower end. It's their cheaper priced phone, and the specs kind of prove that out. It's got the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, so it's last year's flagship chip, which is still going to be really good. Don't get me wrong, that is still a really good chip. Comes with 8 or 16 gigs of RAM, 128 or 256 gigs of storage. Has a slightly larger battery of 5,500 milliamp hours. The front camera is a 16 megapixel. The main cameras are 50 megapixel main sensor, 8 megapixel ultra wide, and a 2-megapixel macro sensor, which shouldn't be a thing,
Yeah.
but it is.
Yep.
It's IP54 water and dust resistant, so not nearly as good.
No.
And a 6.78-inch display, so slightly smaller, but not a whole lot. And the price on this one is $500, so $300 cheaper. I don't even know if it's a $300 difference in specs. I think it should be a little bit less than that, personally.
Maybe.
But still going to be a decent option. I mean, you're getting last year's flagship chip, which is, like I said, still really good option. But the cameras are not going to be nearly as good on this one as on the flagship. Yeah.
I suspect that the main advantage of this is really going to be the fact that because it's a 12R instead of like a, OnePlus 11, then it's probably going to get a little bit longer software support.
Yeah, that would be my guess. So if you're looking for relatively updated specs and you want it to last a while, which most people that are buying in this range tend to keep their phone a little longer.
Yeah.
So I don't know what OnePlus is how their record is when it comes to updates, but just keep that in mind. But those are the two phones from OnePlus that they just came out with, and I'm impressed with the OnePlus 12. I'm not going to lie. That is a pretty cool phone. And that green color is just fantastic.
I'm impressed with their display brightness.
Yes.
I'm still not over that. Not going to be over that for a while. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So we did get some new phones. That is nice. Always good to have actually new things to talk about. Let's move on to Apple and new things to talk about there. We don't actually have it yet, but it's in the news cycle. You've probably started to see ads, despite the fact that there are none to buy anymore. But the Vision Pro launch is imminent.
Yep.
February 2nd is when that thing officially launches in stores and presumably will be shipping to the couple dozen people that are going to get it within the first week. So it's coming. We're going to have a lot to say about that in the near future. Also coming from Apple later in March, this is according to Mark Gurman, we're going to be getting new iPads. We were kind of expecting new iPads to happen this year. New iPads do tend to happen in March kind of regularly, so that's not necessarily surprising. Early March, late March, it's kind of a coin flip. Gurman says late March. I'm inclined to believe him. All of this is but a mere distraction over the actual single most important piece of Apple news for this past week, and that is Apple's actual compliance with the EU's DMA, or Digital Markets Act, right? Which we knew they were going to have to comply with this, but we didn't know exactly how until this week. So, the DMA defines Apple as a marketplace gatekeeper, which means that they are responsible for a certain level of openness regarding their platform and their marketplace in order to foster competition that is good for consumers, right? Basically, this is just a regulation that is trying to essentially stop monopolies from existing so that competition can actually take place and you get, free market advantages for the consumer out of that. So that's what the DMA is targeted at. And Apple was going to have to comply with that. And I would say that based on what we have seen, this is the very dictionary definition of malicious compliance. Okay. So what do I mean by that? Let's talk. iOS 17.4 beta dropped this past week, and it became immediately clear that this was Apple's answer. This is the version of iOS that is going to be launching sometime before March, which is when the DMA comes into effect. And this is Apple's response to the DMA. This is how they're going to comply with it. It includes provisions for such things as alternative app stores, alternative payment options, open access to the iPhone's hardware, including third-party access to NFC. default browser options and third-party browser engine support in the operating system. And this one's actually not restricted to the EU, but I had to mention it because I feel like it's pretty awesome. Game streaming apps are now going to be allowed on the platform and in the App Store. So, that all sounds pretty great. What do I mean? Like, what's so malicious about this compliance? This all seems pretty awesome. Let me break it down to you. This is how Apple has gone about changing the iOS developer relationship in order to support all of this stuff, right? And most especially the third-party app stores and third-party payment options, right? Which are the things that Apple has been fighting against the hardest through all of this, okay? They've done this by introducing a thing called a core technology fee, which is essentially Apple saying this is our fee that we're charging developers for use of all of the stuff that we develop to make the App Store and the distribution platform and the hardware actually work. Okay? Seems reasonable that they would charge something for that. Okay, fair enough. So, the current App Store agreement, as it exists right now, is that developers will pay Apple a 15 to 30% commission. If you have less than $1 million in revenue, then you pay a 15% commission through the App Store Small Business Program. If you have over $1 million in revenue, then you have a 30% commission. Subscriptions that are paid in-app purchases through the app require a 30% commission for the first year and a 15% commission for the second year and beyond, right? That is how the App Store has been functioning for, they introduced the Small Business Program, what was that, 2 years ago, something like that, 2.5 years ago. So since then, that's how it's been. The new terms for App Store distribution that includes, let's see. So this is apps that are distributed through the App Store, but are using, some third-party, whatever, payment system. No, hold on. That are using a third-party payment system. And this is how they have changed the terms for the App Store. So the commission that they take drops to 17% from 30%, or 10% from the 15%, right? So if you're in the small business program, it's no longer 15% per app, or per purchase, it is 10%. And if you are not in the small business program, instead of 30%, it's 17%. Okay. There's an additional fee of 3% for using their payment system, right? So it would basically be, between your 13% or 20%, if you choose to use the new rules versus the way it was before, which is Apple is leaving that up to the developer, right? You can choose to do either, but basically they have to give you the option, pretty much. The 3% fee does not apply for developers who use alternative payment systems. So that's one thing to note. And then developers must also pay a 50 cent, half a euro, half a euro per install. I don't know. Do they call them cents there? What the heck is that? Idea. I've never even thought of that. Or a half a euro per app install for each year each user after 1 million every year, right? So if you have over 1 million installs for an app in the space of a year, or for a million new users for an app in the space of a year, then you have to pay a €0.50 per install. Okay. And that does mean they're specifying per user. That means that if you have one person that downloads the app and then uninstalls it, reinstalls it, uninstalls it, reinstalls it, that's all just one, right? That's just one dude doing that. Okay. Then they also have, terms for if you're using an alternative app store distribution, alternative payment system, all that stuff, right? It's not through Apple's App Store. It's not through whatever. There's no commission, but developers still have to pay the €0.50 per install for any users past 1 million, right? Then, on top of all of that, if you want an alternative app marketplace, you get alternative app marketplaces from the App Store, right? It's an app you download from Apple's App Store, and all of the apps that get installed through those have to go through a vetting process that's very similar, if not quite as strict, as Apple's existing app distribution marketplace, which is like, yes, third-party app store. Apple still gets to approve all of the apps, and if you don't get Apple's approval, then Apple is going to be doing digital signing for any apps that are installed through the third-party app store. And if you don't have, like, if you haven't passed their vetting process, even if it is lighter weight than the actual app review process, they still get to control whether or not those get installed. Okay, that seems sketchy. Also, worth noting, and this was pointed out by somebody on Twitter, under the App Store's new fee structure for Europe, with their core technology fee and all that stuff, if you make $10 million in sales, Apple's cut is $6.2 million.
Gosh.
Right? This is based off of the calculation that, what was it? That if you were selling a like 99-cent app or something like that, which means that $10 million in sales is 10 million actual users. And that means that your core technology fee for that is like freaking 500 grand a month, I think. Something like that, or close to that. 400. Sorry, it's 400 grand a month. I was a little bit low. So they pointed out, assuming you have no operating costs or salaries, then your take-home amount is about $2 million after you pay your taxes and stuff like that, which is about 20% of your sales.
Yeah.
Which is significantly less than the 70% that you were taking home before. So basically, Apple took one look at this. A better part also, free apps, right? Free apps that are downloaded and like, nobody pays for anything. If you have 1 million people download your free app in the space of a year, then suddenly you have to pay €0.50 to Apple for every single one of those installs. Free apps just won't exist. They can't. That is $45,000 a month that you would owe Apple for an app that you make no money off of. Right? So that's how Apple has gone to address this stuff. I only have one question, and it's kind of, I think it's sort of a stupid, would this, which I don't think it's going to exist for long as it currently does, would this actually be better than what we currently have? And I think the clear answer is no.
No.
Like, this is not better for consumers. It doesn't actually give you free access to apps and alternative app marketplaces the way that we all thought. Yeah, surely this will work, because Apple's still vetting all of them. Apple still gets to exert some level of control over them. And the way that Apple has implemented this, the core technology fee means that apps that are free, that aren't monetized out the wazoo, they disappear. Right? And this is freaking baffling to me, because I just want it to be clear. Some things like government apps, nonprofits, and religious apps and stuff like that, they're exempted from the core technology fee. But I don't know that the public broadcasting service falls under any of those. It's sponsored by the government, but it's not actually a government app. And I don't think that PBS is a nonprofit. They might be. Maybe they're a nonprofit. They're definitely not a religious organization. And their app is free. You don't have to pay for that thing. Are they going to charge PBS? Obviously, this is a U.S.-centric thing, but I'm just trying to picture, if this came to the U.S., what apps that I currently use and enjoy and rely on would simply cease to exist? And I think PBS might be one of them. Nebula, that might be another one. I can't imagine that they make enough money in order to pay Apple's core technology fee every year. It's wild. This whole thing is just wild.
Now, I just want to verify, but all of these rules are only if your app is in a third-party app store, correct? It's not like if you're in the regular app store, you don't have to apply by these rules, correct?
No.
That's what I
So
thought.
you have two options. Well, no. So you have two options. Either you continue with the App Store guidelines and process and fees and everything as they currently exist. You just keep doing that. That is an option if you want to do that. If you want to take advantage of any of the new stuff Apple has introduced, alternative app stores, alternative payment options, NFC access, third-party browser engine, you want to include that, any of this stuff, if you want to do any of that, then you have to accept their new terms. Whether or not, like, if you want it, say you are Firefox. You have a free app in the App Store. Okay? No in-app purchases, as far as I'm aware, for Firefox. Maybe they're VPN, but probably not, right? As Firefox, you want to be able to put your own actual pants browser engine into your app instead of just using WebKit built into iOS, right? That's all you want to do. You developed this engine. In fact, this engine is older than WebKit.
Yeah.
Right? You have been using this thing for frickin' decades, and you want to put it into your free app. In order to do that, you have to go to Apple's new rules. You're not moving out of the App Store. You're not moving to an alternative app, like, you're not using a different payment option, nothing like that. You just want to update it with a new browser engine. As far as I'm aware, that means you have to move to Apple's new rules, which means you now have to pay the €0.50 core technology fee for every install past 1 million. And it's Firefox. They probably have at least 1 million downloads a year. So, yeah, that, like, there's just, I don't know. I don't get it. There's a few things that are really interesting about that. Like, probably chief among them is the fact that Epic has already announced that an Epic Game Store app is going to be coming to Europe, and Fortnite will be on it. Like, they've already said all of that. And I'm like, with all of these new rules being the way they are, Epic, I don't think you're going to make your money back on this. This is just going to be like, you're going to launch the Epic Game Store on iOS because you can, sort of the same way you did it on PC, and you're going to keep losing money off of it. Just, the Epic Game Store is never going to make you money, Epic. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, stupid decisions still being made by Epic. This doesn't change that. But I just, they at least have the decency to also complain about it on Twitter. Because, yeah, that's fair. And I think Firefox has also complained about it. Spotify obviously complains about it because Spotify complains about everything. And there's also the fact that the majority of Spotify's users don't actually pay for the app at all. But they download it. So it's like, yeah, most of these companies, it would be stupid to use these new options. And yeah, we're going to see how this pays out. I suspect the EU is going to level some fines at Apple, and some of this stuff is going to have to change.
Yeah. But it's going to take them 5 more years to do that, so.
Oh, probably. So yes, that's Apple this week. It's been good times. I don't really have much more to say about it. We'll let you know. We'll let you know when the EU manages to actually get something useful out of this. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to Google. Landon, take it away.
All right. Now, I do have to mention there was another piece of hardware, another phone that was announced this past week from Google. A new Pixel phone. And no, it's not the new Pixel 8a because that isn't going to come out for a few more months. It's not a Pixel 9 because obviously it's not October. But they did come out with a new color for the Pixel 8 and 8 Pro.
Ooh.
It's mint. And it actually is really nice looking. It's just that light mint tone of green. Again, what green phones usually don't do it for me, but the OnePlus one and this one are actually decent color. Now, I don't think I would buy this Pixel 8 if I were to buy one, but I do like the color of it.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
That counts for something.
Yeah. And I have to applaud Google because I do like more options and also bright options of phone colors, especially on Pro devices, because Apple doesn't give Pro phones a variety of colors. At least,
holy crap.
I mean, my phone, the 13 Pro Max, they did give me the light blue option, which I did buy because I loved that color. But that's the last time the Pro iPhone has had a decently bright color.
Yep.
And it was the only option, and it wasn't like, it's not, I mean, it's bright-ish, but not like, mint.
Yeah. Well, and then freaking this year, they gave us like kind of white silver and then like kind of black, like darker gray silver, and then more different version of the white silver that was supposedly different for, no, it wasn't. Apple, what the heck? The 3 colorways for the Pro phones this year sucked.
Yeah. And you can't blame it on titanium anymore because Samsung came out with titanium Pro phones that also have different colors.
Yep.
That look good. Weird. It's fun. Anyways, that's the latest hardware news from Google. They did happen to give us a new feature drop, as they call them, the Pixel feature drops that usually happen at the beginning of the month, but this one came at the end of the month, strangely enough. But I think it has to do with the fact that Samsung had to announce their phone first to get a feature first. So one of these features is the circle to search that was on the Samsung phone. So that is coming to Pixel phones. And it's, as far as I know, it is only going to be on the Pixel 8 series of phones. So if you have anything older than that, you will not, as far as I'm understanding, you will not be getting the circle to search feature. So that's kind of unfortunate that it's not coming to older phones, but it is nice that it is on both, as far as I know, again, both 8 and 8 Pro. Also, you will be getting photo emoji, which they announced at the Pixel event, which is basically the same thing that the iPhone has, where you hold on to a subject, you long press on the subject, and it pulls the subject out of a photo, and you can use it as a sticker or whatever. It's an interesting feature. I have used it in the past, not in the way that Apple wants me to. Like, I didn't copy and use it as a sticker in iMessage. I used it to make a custom emoji in Slack because it was really easy.
Yep. I'm just down here marking photo emoji for worst tech name of the year nomination.
That's a good option. I mean, technically though, photo emoji the name was announced last year. So
I'm gonna count it.
Yeah. I mean, the feature didn't come out.
The feature came out this year.
We'll give you that. The other one is Magic Compose, which is basically like what you have in a lot of email apps where it will offer a suggestion of something to write in your email, but this is for Google Messages. So inside of your messaging app, it will give you something. If you're typing something out, it can finish the sentence for you, or even before you start typing, it can offer you something to respond with to the previous message that you just received. So it's not something that I probably would ever use if I was on a Pixel.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't use the feature in email apps either, but it's kind of nice to have. I guess some people obviously use it in email because they wanted to bring it to messages, I guess.
I guess if you're the type of person who writes literally the most generic email that you can a lot, then it's probably a useful feature. And there's totally jobs where you do that.
Yeah.
It's just like, what is the most generic thing that I can put in this email? And that's what you write. And yeah, as a receptionist at a small business, I'm sure that that's a super useful feature. So
I mean, to be fair, majority of the emails that I write that are work emails are pretty generic. I just don't care. Unless I'm mad at somebody, then I, definitely write my own words. But it's there. But the most interesting feature, and I guess it's not really a new feature, but, well, it is a new feature. So the Pixel 8 Pro has the temperature sensor on it.
Yeah.
Google finally got FDA approval to use this on people.
Okay.
And they are also claiming that it is more accurate than current over-the-counter, like, forehead thermometers.
I mean, I don't necessarily doubt them because those things kind of suck, but why do I care?
Exactly. I mean, obviously this phone was being developed in the height of COVID, but
Yeah.
we're definitely past the height of COVID. And I mean, it's interesting.
I
Now
don't need it to be super hyper accurate. I need it to get me within a degree. That's it.
Now you say
Like,
that.
a degree more or less. So I guess actually within 2 degrees kind of, but
now this is saying, so the FDA gave it it's a de novo classification, which I don't exactly know like where in the hierarchy that is in FDA classifications when it comes to thermometers, but that's what it is. But that gives it a plus or minus 0.3 degrees Celsius range, which for all you folks listening in the US that use Fahrenheit, which is us, that is plus or minus half a degree, which is pretty dang accurate.
That is pretty dang accurate.
And that was testing it in a range between 96.9 degrees Fahrenheit and 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So basically body temperature.
Yeah. Here's the thing. That's great. That is accurate and probably is more accurate than, but like I said, plus or minus a degree is plenty because if I get over 103, it doesn't matter if it's accurate to 103 or if it's 104 or if it's 102. I'm going to the hospital.
It's not a good situation either way.
Yeah, that's like, okay, I'm going to ice myself and take like 6 ibuprofen and then, maybe go to see a doctor. Like, I don't need it to be 50% more accurate than that.
Yeah.
To know those things.
Now, the one thing that is beneficial with this is anybody that has this phone now has a good thermometer ready to go.
That's true.
So that's is nice. You don't have to go out and buy one. I mean, they're only like $20 or less. It's not like they're that expensive, but you don't have to go out and buy one. Or if you're in a place where you happen to not just have one, like if you're not at home or whatnot, you have your phone, that is kind of nice. But how often is that the case where you need something like this just randomly out in the middle of nowhere, but you have your phone? Or how many people don't have something like even a thermometer that you stick under your tongue or something like that? How many don't have one of those in their home? If you don't, go buy one right now. Come on.
Yeah, honestly. It's like, it's a lot cheaper to buy one of those than a Pixel 8.
Yes.
So
Pixel 8 Pro.
Oh, right. It has to be the Pro.
But that is now there, FDA approved. Again, this is the US because it's the FDA. I don't know if this feature is going to be approved outside of the US because it's got to be approved by other governments or whatnot,
Yeah.
So it's interesting. But that's the Pixel feature drop for January. All right. Now this is something I almost never talk about on the podcast. That's rumors. Now I only brought this up because it's the Pixel 9 because it's January. It's a new year. Obviously we have Pixel rumors for the next phone because that's how Google works.
Yep.
Now, I had to bring this up because Samsung did this already with their phones. Not titanium. I don't know about titanium. I can't say that's going to be on the Pixel 9. We don't know that yet. I wouldn't be surprised. But
no.
The Pixel 9, the leaks that we've seen, if you're looking at the side of this phone, looks like an iPhone. Because it's got that metal frame around the outside that's nice and squared off and flat, and which I don't hate. I do like that design. And I am fine with other companies copying. I'm just waiting for the lawsuit to come out because it's Apple. They're going to sue somebody over this. You copied
Well,
another shape of
probably.
our phone, Samsung. Ma, ma, ma. And they're going to lose again because it's stupid. But that I had to bring that up. And also, the camera bar is a little different on this one. So in previous models of the Pixel, the camera bar has gone all the way out to the edge of the phone and kind of tied into that aluminum frame on the outside. This one is very reminiscent of the Pixel 8, or no, not the 8, Pixel Fold, just what it's called. It's not the 8 because there's only one. But it has more of a pill shaped. It's like a circular rectangle. It's still a bar going across most of the back of the phone, but it circles off and it's just slapped onto the back of the phone. It doesn't go to the edges of the device, which initially I was like, oh, I don't hate that. But the more I look at it, I'm like, I don't love it either. It's still going to give you that distinct Pixel look because it is still a vertical or a horizontal bar.
Yeah.
But it's not the whole back of the phone. And 99% of people are going to slap a case on this thing, which is going to make it look, once again, like your generic Pixel phone, which, to me, again, is not a bad thing. I like the distinguishable look of these phones. It's just, if you're using this without a case, it looks a little bit different, and all of these little edges around, or not little anymore, the giant edges around this camera bar is going to be a place where dust is going to collect because that's just what happens when you get sharp edges like that. I mean, it happens on my phone. The cameras stick out half an inch from the back of the phone, so they get dust in those spots. And it happens on Samsung phones. It happens on any phone that has a flat surface and then a jutting out edge like that.
Yep.
But
and
it's interesting.
Pretty obnoxious, honestly. But yeah.
So that is the Pixel 9 rumors. I probably won't bring it up again because they're probably accurate. All right, that's all my Google news. I do have more tech news, though.
Tech news. Take it away.
So this one, I kind of want to blame this on Google killing something, but it's technically not Google killing it. So Fossil has announced they will no longer be making smartwatches, which is unfortunate because I've owned. Let's see, have I bought 2 Fossil smartwatches?
What, was it 2 or was it just 1?
I
don't remember.
I know my watch previous to my Apple Watch was a Fossil watch. I don't remember if the one before that was or not. I know I bought the original Moto 360.
Yep.
Maybe it was just the one Fossil. Either way, it was a Fossil smartwatch, and mostly because I love the design, because Fossil makes good watches. They're a watch company. They know how to design a watch, and they were just using Android Wear or now Wear OS. Nope. Is it Wear? I can't remember what it's.
What is it called now?
It is Wear OS.
Remember?
It's Wear OS. Google's changed that like 5 times too. But so right now they're on the Fossil Gen 6 platform of smartwatches, and there's a few different brands under the Fossil brand. I can't remember all of them, but they did announce they will no longer be making smartwatches. They did say, though, that if you have an existing Gen 6 watch, it will continue to get updates to a certain point. I don't know exactly how long that'll be. They haven't said that as far as I know. I wouldn't bank on anything more than, heck, even 6 months,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it went past, or at least through this year, but
right.
I also wouldn't be surprised if after 6 months you don't get anything because, they're not a technology company. They're a watch company.
Yep, that's fair.
And it makes some sense because, Samsung has been making smartwatches for a long time, and they've kind of refined their watch down to a really good product. Google jumped into the smartwatch game a couple years ago, and it's becoming more popular. And then obviously Apple has been in the game for a while and making a great watch. So I'm not completely surprised. It's just kind of a bummer that there's less competition, and especially when it comes to the design side of things, because I really liked the look of the Fossil watches. It looked like a watch. It was nice. Now, I like I said at the beginning, I can't fully blame this. I can't say that Google's killing this because technically it's not Google. But I want to say that Google's killing this because they bought a lot of smartwatch technology from Fossil a couple years ago.
That's true.
And they took a lot of employees on that side of things from Fossil. So
yeah,
technically I can't say that Google is killing something. So there's still, I mean, my wish list item is still fine. But
there you go.
I can't not say that this is not entirely, Google has something to do with this.
There's a smoking gun. Google is standing kind of close to it. That's all we can say.
Yes. Yes, exactly. My last thing of tech news that I wanted to update on from last week. So I mentioned how the S24 Ultra and none of the S24 phones had Qi 2 wireless charging or the Qi 2 standard that has MagSafe on it.
Yes.
Because of the S Pen not working properly with that. From what I understand, what I've heard from people that have used MagSafe cases and whatnot with previous models and the S24 Ultra is that the S Pen does work with these magnets there, but it does not work if it's being charged. So if it has a wireless charging puck slapped on the back, that's when the issue starts to arise.
Right.
So I'm going back to the fact that it's like, hey, Samsung, that was a stupid thing to leave out then, because, I mean,
yeah,
you could just say it's like S Pen may have issues while charging with a MagSafe charger, and people, and there's your, you can just say that.
Is it with a MagSafe charger or is it with any wireless charger? Because if it's the fact that like the current flowing through the coils is what's causing the interference, then any wireless charger is going to cause the problem. But that's not likely to affect hardly anybody because probably nobody is using the S Pen while the thing is like holding a wireless charger on the back of the phone. But if you had a MagSafe charger, then you probably would want to be able to pick that thing up with the charger still stuck to the back of the phone, because why not? It's so easy to leave it there and then pull the pen out and start trying to use it, and then it wouldn't work because it's charging. So if that's what it is, then I still kind of get why, but I feel like that's such a narrow use case that you should probably still have included the feature and then just make it so that if somebody pulls the S Pen out of the phone and the S Pen tries to connect while the thing is charging, just pop up a little display that says S Pen disabled while wireless charging.
Yeah. I don't think it has anything to do with just the wireless charging itself, because they have wireless charging on these phones already and have for years.
Right.
So I think it has to do
work while it's charging. It's like, I have no idea. I've never heard anybody talk about that, because it's kind of silly to try and use the S Pen while the thing is sitting on a wireless charging puck, I
mean,
why would you do that?
Yeah. I think that it has to do with the magnets, because what I've heard is that it's where the magnets align, that's where the S Pen has issues. It's not the rest of the display or even in the center of that. It's just that magnetic circle that the MagSafe puck would be on.
Either way, I feel like if it's just while charging, then it's pretty easy. Just when you pull the pen out, if the phone is on a wireless charger, just pop up a thing that says, hey, the S Pen doesn't work while you're on a wireless charger.
Yeah.
Take it off the charger, and then you're good.
Yeah.
That's
I agree.
It. Easy.
Yeah. So I think it's dumb that it's not there. But whatever. It's Samsung. They're going to do what they want. They always do. And it's usually stupid.
Oh, you're not wrong.
So that's my S24 update.
All right. Well, good stuff. That actually, listener, I believe is going to bring us to the end of the podcast, unless Landon is hiding one more thing from me here that he wanted to.
No.
No?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, thank you for joining us this week, listener, to catch up on all the tech happenings that have been going on. If you would like to get in contact with us, you can do that on social media platforms, Facebook, we're on Twitter. You can find us on our website as well in the comments there at callingallplatforms.com. You can email us at podcast@callingallplatforms.com. You could go to YouTube, Calling All Platforms Tech, or Calling All Platforms Gaming, and you can leave comments there and tell me how much I suck for not uploading a video for like 6 months or however long it's been. And as always, you can find us right back here, the podcasting app of your choice, next week. And until then, bye-bye.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.